My name is Pete Golden. Some of the things I care deeply about: soaring and helping people, building communities, stuff like that. Always been like a lifelong volunteer. I was kind of out on my own at a young age because my parents were seeing kind of a psychotic psychiatrist who thought the idea of family therapy was kick the kids out so you won't have a problem anymore. So I, was out on my own at a young age. So I got involved with feeding people in the soup kitchens, helping the homeless. I've also been going to rainbow gatherings for 30 years, of two before injury and 40 or more post injury. And that's very much about everybody helping each other, cooperation. So I've always been someone who's been about giving and giving back to the community and stuff like that. When my injury occurred, I cut off my dreads before in 89 and went to school for computer programming because my ex and my parents kind of pressured me into it. So I put on a suit and tie and was just miserable for a year just doing the school and everything. Then I went to my graduation party, had a fight with my ex, and took my brother's motorcycle out for a spin around the block. And there was a pothole the size of the entire lane on a sharp corner. So yeah, I hit the pothole, went flying, landed on a rock, and while I'm there cursing up a storm, screaming in pain, I hear my mom show up. It's like, why did they have to cut the suit off of him? I just bought that for him. By the time I got out of the hospital, I started growing my dreads again, which are now 10 feet long and have not cut them in 31 years going on now. I definitely feel much better about my life now than I did during that year. I was about 22. Barriers I faced right after my injury. I got charged by one of the doctors that he charged me a $50,000 consultation fee to come in my room for 30 seconds and tell me a list of all the things I would never do in my life again. It's like, you're never going to walk again. You're never going to have sex again. You're never going to do this again. You're never going to do that again. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I didn't walk again, but everything else that I exceeded, expectations. Like if there was a ramp next to steps, I would take the stairs just to pull wheelie and bounce down the stairs because I was originally a para and now I'm a quad. So when I was a para, I would, take the rough road just for the challenge of it. If there was a boulder in the middle of the path, instead of going around it, I would go over it. I started off as a T4-5 para from the original injury. And then I had a syrinx. It's called seromagnalia. They don't know what causes it, but they think it's from improper breathing when exercising. And because I was really pushing the limits, they think it's from building up the cranial pressure. And it's basically a fluid-filled opening in the spinal cord going up from the original injury site up into my neck. So I went from a T4-5 to T1, C7 on the right and C5, 6-ish on the left, I think. Right when I was injured is when I started flying gliders, like literally 2 weeks out of rehab. I grew up with like gliders releasing over the backyard and biplanes doing aerobatics. It was literally 2 miles from where I lived. And so I signed up for an introduction flight and I started taking lessons the following week. When I was first injured, I was like, well, okay, I'm not going to accept that I can't walk for the first year. I'm going to fight and do all I can. But if it comes down to that, so be it. But then when I started flying, it was like, well, you know what? Flying's not that bad of a trade-off for not being able to walk. If I, had to give up walking to be able to fly, I would definitely rather fly any day. You're grinning. I mean, you're eye to eye with hawks circling in a thermal. Then when you're, circling over the field before you land, and you see a tiny little speck, and that's your chair down there. It seems so insignificant. It's like forgetting that you're disabled because, it doesn't matter. There's actually a paraplegic he's a national champion and he was competing in the World Glider Championships. He actually won day 2. So he's, one of the top pilots in the entire world. And so it's literally something that your disability is not a disadvantage whatsoever. You can compete against able-bodied pilots and kick their asses. I do plan on getting my instructor's license and teaching people. Yeah, and if I ever buy a plane, it'll be a 2-seat, so I can compete, but also share the joy with other people. Take my friends for flights. The program that I fly with, it's called Freedom's Wings International, www.freedomswings.org. I met a Kenyan woman and we're getting married as soon as she gets here. And we're building an eco village. So that's my next plan. That's what I'm learning to do is build eco domes. It's super adobe construction. It also involves like artificial wetlands for water reclamation. It's going to be super efficient, so our annual bills will be like $100 a year. It grows all our own food and recycles rainwater. We're planning on making it an accessible village too. So you'd be amazed at what you can do if you put your mind to it. Don't accept limitations. Reach for your dreams. Go for whatever you want to do. You can do more than a non-injured person can do if you put your mind to it. It's just a matter of willpower and attitude. Attitude makes a big, big, big difference. And I would absolutely say, if you have a chance to, come fly with us, because that was one of the things that, like, getting up in the glider, taking the controls on the very first flight, seeing just how easy it was to fly a plane. Even though I can't walk, it made a huge, huge difference in everything else. If you want to have friends, have friends. I mean, I have countless friends. I don't even know how many friends. I'm constantly hearing people say, well, COVID's no big deal because we're used to being isolated. And I was like, I'm not used to being isolated. I'm used to being around 40,000 friends out in the woods, having a wonderful time, Yeah, there are some things that suck about being injured. I'm not going to say that everything's wonderful. I mean, there are some things that suck, but you can make the best of it and look at all the things that can be great and concentrate on those, and take advantage of every opportunity you have.